Hello and welcome into the Strive Sports Podcast, episode number 10. As always, I am your esteemed host, Keegan Hartman. Make sure you find me and follow me at Keegan Hartman1 via Twitter, at Kigo Amigo via Instagram. Look, I know it's hard to believe, but we are nearing the end of November, and honestly, it's even harder to believe that we are nearing the conclusion of season 1 of this podcast. We're on episode 10 right now. After this, we got 2 more episodes. So I mean, it's flying by super quick, I should say. But we keep the hits rolling, which reminds me, if you have not already done so, do yourself a favor, go back to our most recent episode number 9 with my good friend Cam Eccles Hooper, and watch that conversation. Interesting perspective by Cam throughout the entire interview, talking about his collegiate football and track and field career at TCU. Great perspective and great advice offered up by Cam. Even better insight. Make sure you go find that and take a look at it. Great podcast, great episode. But also, if you are new to the show, new to the platform, make sure you follow us on our socials at Strive Sports Mode via Twitter and TikTok, and at Strive Sports Productions via Instagram. Make sure you hit us up, follow us on our platforms so that you're up to date on all of our latest content, including podcast highlights, guest spotlights, and more. All right. Bills have finally been paid. Now, like I said, we've been batting 1,000 with the hits. The hits keep rolling. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, a native of Kingfisher, Oklahoma, my next guest, Mr. Jace Sternberger, has endured quite the football journey thus far in his young career. As a near 6'4", 212-pound, 2-star recruit, and FYI, I mean, I've said this before, Jace, stars don't matter. They're bogus. Sternberger ranked as the 98th overall tight end and the 28th best player in the state of Oklahoma back in the 2014 to 2015 recruiting class. That's according to 247 Sports. I know how you are. I know how you are about all this recruiting ranking bullshit that y'all see. I mean, like, hey, no, man, look, y'all just let the pads do the talking. Y'all ain't really much about looking at the rankings and everything, but that's what it was on there. I know that you're a way better player than what that perceives, but we had previously done a recording, and I'm going to get through the rest of the intro in a minute, but I thought this perspective was, we talked about this off camera, to be a 2-star athlete out of Kingfisher for you. I guess you had said something along the lines of, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you don't see that very often for kids that come out of Kingfisher. So it kind of was, I don't know if it kind of meant a lot to you coming out of high school at Kingfisher. I don't know if you can offer some perspective to that, given the fact that, you know, it's very seldom you see someone with multiple stars to their name.
Yeah, and just for clarification, when I say a lot of kids don't make it out, was referring to playing Division I sports or Division I football. Uh, Kingfisher is a very successful city. A lot of guys go off and do their own thing, and they all go to college, do all that.
That's
So
all.
I didn't want to make it seem like I grew up, like I said, like I came from the struggle by any means. Like I said, I was very fortunate. You know what I'm saying? So,
That's
just want to clarify that it came from nothing.
yeah.
But however, D1, especially in football, like I said it wasn't as common. Like I said, it's a very small school, only 100 graduated with 100 kids. So not an everyday thing. You know, a lot of kids get opportunities to play, you know, Division II, Division III, junior college, but to, you know, actually make it and when you're playing D1, it was definitely unique in my town.
Well, I appreciate the clarification. I apologize. Need to load you up with words there, but I will say, you know, you fast forward to your senior season with the Yellow Jackets, from a statistical standpoint and from a contribution standpoint, you were a key cog in their state championship run, particularly in your junior year. Led them to helped to lead them, propel them to a 15-0 season, and nabbed a state championship there. But I want to get into the statistics side of things. I talk about your senior year, and like I said, we had these conversations off camera. Offensively, I'll keep it to you playing as a tight end and a defensive end. And I'm sure that you were probably a Swiss knife offensively. God, that's a tongue twister. But 34 receptions, 434 receiving yards, 31 yards per game, 7 touchdowns. I think it was 11 total, I want to say, on the ground, defensively, offensively. And that's through the air, on the ground. And then defense, and I said this before, I thought this was a lot. Like I was like, there's no way in hell this guy got this many sacks in his senior year, but 80 tackles, 20 sacks, 7 pass breakups, 2 interceptions, one of those for a touchdown, if I'm not mistaken, and 1 forced fumble. You were a Swiss knife for your team, my friend, and it's impressive. It's an impressive feat. You actually offered up the fact that most of the teams that were recruiting you out of high school were defensively rather than offense. And this school we'll get into is ultimately the one that you chose, and they recruited you solely for your offensive skill sets. What did that mean? Do you care to provide some perspective on that one?
It was just cool to get some recognition at the time. I didn't take it personal, what college coaches wanted that because like I didn't even know what I wanted. I just was thinking of the best fit for me, and I just felt like at the end of the day, I was more, I don't know, offense is just it was just more fun to me. There's just something about catching the ball, running with it. I just liked having the ball in my hands. Pause. Um, and so defensively, it was cool. I enjoyed getting sacks. I enjoyed doing all that fun stuff. But it
Oh,
was just something about like scoring points was like really, really good. I really enjoyed it.
you're a child.
It's like I'm in my shower now. Whenever you guys have kids, you'll understand that you don't want to wake them up. So that's why I left the bedroom to come in here. So dedication.
Dedication. There you go. That's a power move. Good job, Jace. Good on you, man. Father of the year. So Jace, not only did Jace excel at football in high school, but he also played, uh, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, power forward in basketball. And then you also participated in track and field for the Yellow Jackets. We'll get into that in a minute. I'm going to glide through this intro and I'll reel it back in. Your talent on the gridiron, however, would usher a fair amount of recruiting traction, and you would go on to receive offers from schools such as, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kansas, New Mexico, Tulsa, South Dakota, and Texas State. Those are just to name a few. However, at the conclusion of your senior year in 2015, it would ultimately be the University of Kansas that you would call home. After a redshirt season in your freshman year at Kansas in 2015, 2016, you would mostly see action on Kansas's special teams for roughly about 10 games. And then ultimately in 2016, it would be one play on offense where you caught a pass against Rhode Island for 5 yards. And at that point, you said, again, we've had this conversation before, and you can elaborate on this. You talk about Kansas was kind of the chapter one, the starting point for you in your collegiate career. Um, there wasn't really much as far as your role on the field. It was more acute relatively to what Texas A&M was and what NEO was. But you said that it still served as a pivotal time in your career because it was just it kind of helped you to find your identity or find yourself. I guess you can speak more to that on that sense and briefly just talk about Kansas's impact.
Yeah, learned a lot about myself when I was at Kansas. Just like any high school kid who plays D1 sports, you're usually your best player in high school, so you're used to all the success, all the things that come with being like the best player on the team. Where you go to college and you're a bunch of guys who have been playing a lot longer than you, more experienced. They're just naturally bigger and stronger than a lot of 18-year-old high school seniors, like I was myself at the time. It was very humbling just getting to go up there and compete with some really good guys. Like I said, learned a lot, but then I learned quick that I feel like there was more out there for me, and I wasn't, tapping into my full potential. I just wasn't in the best fit, scheme wise, team wise. It just didn't mesh with, kind of how I think, not how I think things should have been, but just, what I believed in, when it comes to being a leader and whatnot. Like it just wasn't. Our head coach didn't think that way, and it just wasn't fun. So
Yeah.
like I said, I learned a lot in those 2 years. definitely enjoyed it. Some of my best friends are still at Kansas or met in Kansas. Um, it's just, I think it'd be a complete different experience if I had Coach Leopold, or however you pronounce his last name. Sorry. I think it would have been a way better experience football wise. And so yeah, like I said, my football, we were 0 and 12, and then we were 2 and 10. Like we stormed the field when we beat Rhode Island. You know what I'm saying? Like football was a shit show. I mean, we got better, and like look where they're at now. But at the time, everyone who's on those teams, they know what we went through. Like I wouldn't trade anything for the world. Like those were some of the best 2 years of my life. It helped me, like I said, it shaped me who I am today. But man, those are some gritty hours.
Well, following the conclusion of your time at the Jayhawks, or with the Jayhawks, I should say, in 2016, you made the decision to kind of, I guess, I don't, and again, I don't want to plug any words in your mouth or anything like that, but like, I guess this next chapter of your life was dedicated to basically, I don't know, kind of sort of like a reset, a recalibration. Correct me if I'm wrong. You end up going to NEO, Northeastern Oklahoma A&M, located in Miami, Oklahoma, which, fun fact, is actually 30 minutes down the road from where I currently live. Um, yeah, I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. If you agree with that statement.
No, definitely. It was definitely a recharge. Um, like I said, it was just back to the basics on everything. I'm not a kid again because I was like I said, I was 18, 19, but like I said, it was just really back to the basics. It was that high school feel in the sense of most of the team was from Oklahoma, so we were all familiar with each other. It was an older group of kids, meaning like JUCO, you can only be there for 2 years. Well, some of these guys redshirted were even there for 3 years. So I was on a team with a bunch of guys who really cared about the school. I'm not gonna say the school because it's not like we would die for that school, but the football team and each other, like they had a really strong bond. So I was fortunate to get to go to just jump into that life and that team and just get to experience it. And so and like I said, we won our conference for the first time in like X amount of years. Like it was one of those, it was a magical year. And then like I said, to top it off with getting to go to Texas A&M, like it was a really rewarding year. And it was like, man, I knew I made the right decision. Like I wasn't wrong. Everybody called me crazy for leaving Kansas. Like, yeah.
Dead ass, I'm gonna be honest with you. For those that don't really know about Northeastern Oklahoma, yeah, have I given in previous conversations about NEO, I mean, I don't have anything bad to say because I really didn't watch them, or have I been a fan or anything, but I feel like JUCOs often get belittled a lot by people that are used to Division II and Division I colleges, which if you've been through the JUCO system, you probably are a little indifferent, and that's a little distasteful of a take there. But it's nothing bad about the products that are coming out. It's nothing like that. What I'm essentially saying is it's a developmental, it's literally utilized. The platform is utilized for those that I mean, you talk about the Netflix show, like Last Chance U, like this is a vessel that is, I mean, it's been proven successful, is what I'm trying to say, as a junior college, and it has actually helped to propel guys like yourself to the next level and to be able to finish out strong in their collegiate career and ultimately making it to the highest of the highest, reaching the NFL, which is the ultimate goal when you get there. I think that they should be included on Last Chance U is what I think trying to get to, but I went down a rabbit hole. I genuinely think it'd be one of those intriguing schools. I look back on the famous alumni that they've produced. You are a byproduct of NEO. Jeremy Shockey from Ada, Oklahoma, Ada stand up. Greg Trimble, who ultimately went to the University of Georgia in the 80s, was drafted out of Georgia, and guys like Ernest Givens, who was drafted by the Houston Oilers in the second round of the 86 draft out of Louisville. All those guys went through NEO's program. NEO is a school in Miami. It's got about 1,200 undergraduate students, give or take. It's a part of the Southwest Junior College Football Conference, and it's in the National Junior College Athletic Association, a smaller school, but devoted to developing guys and propelling them to the next level. And it doesn't just go for players; it's also coaches. You alluded to this. Coaches are also trying to find a way to get out or build a resume with the junior college and get out. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, and also Super Bowl champ Darwin Thompson. He's from Oklahoma. Went to NEO with me.
Yes.
Yep, I remembered him. So yeah, he's got a Super Bowl ring. So
Oh,
that's incredible when you think of his story, especially his upcoming. So like I said, shout out Darwin. But yeah, like I said, I think our OC, well, our OC was our head coach, but our head coach OC, he went to Minnesota, became the tight ends coach under PJ Fleck. Zach Allen, our offensive coach, offensive line coach, he's at he went to Northeastern State, but now he's at Oklahoma State, so OSU Cowboys. Uh, Gerald House, who was my tight ends coach, who passed away a couple years ago. Rest in peace. Um, he went on to coach at Northwestern State, and I actually played him my first game at A&M. So it was like a really cool moment. Got to have a picture with him.
mm,
Uh, I really think our whole offensive side of the ball, they all went up to D1 FCS.
wow.
Our defensive coordinator, he could have went wherever. I think he just liked where he was at. But yeah, no, our whole offensive side of the ball like went on to coach at the next level. I mean, at a higher level.
Mhm.
And it was, like I said, it was just we were all on the same page. Everybody wanted to win.
And, well, I mean, it's insane when you think about how much. I mean, you attested to it. That's insane to me that a lot of those guys went on to Division 1 and ultimately to the next level, even the professional level. Or coaches and players. It's amazing what they've been able to produce. But I think that's a good starting point for this entire podcast, and I think that's where we can begin to build the story here. And obviously, we'll touch on all those stops as we progress throughout the podcast. But, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to shut up with this intro. And you know the guy, you see him on screen. He's a USFL champion, having won a ring with the Birmingham Stallions this past season. You can find him and follow him on his socials at Jace Sternberger via Instagram, at _J Stern via Twitter. He is a friend of mine, a colleague, and it's great to see your face again, Jace. Happy Wednesday.
What's up, buddy? Glad to be here.
Hey, look, long time no see. It's been a fat minute, and I'll tell you what, dude. I was intimidated by you. I didn't really want to say this like when I first met everybody, but you seem like a very closed off guy. Like when I was down, running social media, I was kind of picking and choosing who I wanted to talk to first, and you weren't one of them. I'll be honest with you. I was like, he doesn't give off that vibe if he wants to socialize. Lo and behold, I was wrong because we became really good friends. So, I mean, I'd say, friends at least, colleagues, obviously, but no, like you're a tremendous dude and outgoing person who's not afraid to show his personality and a very unfiltered. And for that, look, I commend you. You don't give a shit, and I love it. Absolutely love it.
It's a gift and a curse, my brother. It's a gift and a curse.
So I want to get right into it. I start these shows off with icebreakers just to kind of introduce the folks to a person to kind of warm them up and get them ready. So you're a tight end, right? And you obviously you've played in the National Football League. I'm sure you've probably tried to emulate a lot of players obviously have a lot of influence, and there's people that they try to mold their game after, whether they want to admit it or not. And so my question is like, when you look at those players, I know I previously had mentioned, rank your top five, but I have an even better question here. As a tight end, who have you tried to emulate your game after? I know it's probably a cliche question and it's something that, athletes don't really want to answer to, but if there was any names at the professional level that you idolized, looked up to, who were some of those names and who do you try to mold your game after?
I've never answered that question. Even when I was at the combine, they're like, "Who do you mold your game after?"
Me?
I'm like, man, I watch NFL Sunday. I watch all the players play. I watch receivers make plays. I watch tight ends make plays. I watch running backs make plays. I'm like, oh, that was a nice ass play. Or, oh, I like how he plays. But it's like, I've never gone to a workout and been like, man, I'm really watching this person. I'm really trying to copy. It's because it's like, I'm trying to copy from anytime a tight end does something good, like I want to do it.
Mhm.
So, I mean, like, I feel like you have to be, like, you can't be a hater. Like, you can't just find one person that you just, I want to be just like Travis Kelce and catch all the balls and run. Like, No, like you need to find stuff that you're not good at or that other tight ends that are good at. And then it's like, oh, I want to try to be like them and do that. So it's like, I'd say I try to mold my game after every tight end that's playing in the NFL right now because they're obviously doing something right.
Yeah, I know you don't give a shit, but I looked at a scouting combine, I did the player comps and all that, and I was like, well, maybe at least at bare minimum, I can start a small talk on this one. Um, one of the scouts that they have at the NFL Network, his name's Lance Zierlein. I don't know if you've heard the name. He compared your player comp here. Let's get this. His player comp was actually not bad. It's Jacob Tammy. I don't know what if you watched any of Jacob Tammy's film or what you have to say about that.
I know that name, but I don't think I was a quarterback.
No, he was a tight end.
How long ago?
um, I want to say the early 2010s, but I could be wrong. I don't remember what
Hmm.
teams. Don't ask me. Um, that was
I
long.
got Owen. I got Owen Daniels a lot.
Okay. Owen, yeah, former Bronco, played at Houston. He was under Kubiak a lot. He
Yeah,
flourished in his system.
that's who compared me to him was Kubiak.
Gary did.
Yeah, when I was, he's an A&M guy, but
Yeah.
whenever I was doing my pre-draft, he was with the Vikings, and that's what we were talking about. And then when I went to the Texans, they were like, "Damn, you're built just like Owen."
Hmm. That's I mean, I see it. That's a good player comparison. He was obviously a really good tight end. Especially during the time of I mean, he would have been there when Matt Schaub was there. I think Andre
Mm.
Johnson and freaking Arian Foster. That was when the Texans were actually a good team. So
Well, they are now. They are now. They'd beat the shit out of your Broncos.
uh,
No, they'd beat the shit out of your Broncos.
easy now, pal. After seeing the last two games, man, I'm getting some sort of optimism. It's slowly cultivating. Um, I,
I think CJ Stroud would have 300 yards against you.
mm, mm, we'll save that conversation for another day. I could debate all night for it, but I don't got the time. So let's go ahead and backtrack here. I want to start back at Kingfisher, man. Obviously we talked about it in the intro, but in order for people to kind of know who Jace is, I feel like it's imperative to kind of know your come up, where you come from. Obviously, Kingfisher, for those not familiar, it's 57 minutes outside of Oklahoma City, just to the northwest, I want to say. Home of like 4,800 people. Shit, you came from the town. Why don't you tell the people about what Kingfisher is and how it kind of molded you into the person you've become today? Take it away.
That's a stretch. We're not gonna say they molded me because, like I think, like we talked about before, I've never, in my lifetime, I've never been in the same location I have been, been for 4 years at a time. So I'm always on the move. I've always been have to adjust to my new environment, new surroundings, meeting new friends, meeting new people. And so I really feel like it's helped me, build a connection with people. And one of those where I am used to long distance relationships in the sense of like, saying we can be friends like me and you were during the season. And if, God forbid, but if we went 2 years without talking because of work or whatever, we just went our separate ways. Like if we saw each other those 2 years later, like it would be like nothing. We just picked up where we left off. You know what I'm saying? Like those are the kind of relationships I feel like living in small town has helped me develop, especially now, like, after doing the NFL for a little bit and just living in bigger cities and just, really adapting. But so living in a small town, it's always kept me humble. It's easy to lose perspective whenever you're living a different lifestyle, when you got a lot of money, you're doing this, doing that, and then it's always good just to get a reality check sometimes, and just go touch grass every now and then. And so I just feel like being from a small town like Kingfisher and graduating from there, and it just just really helped mold me into who I am today when it comes to being respectful, accountability, all that good stuff. I just feel like that's where a small town comes in.
Would you, I guess, one of the intangibles, I don't know if you'd consider it a tangible or intangible, but one of the things that, because you talked about moving every 3 to 4 years or whatever and having to go into different situations, would you agree that in and of itself helped you to be comfortable with being uncomfortable? Have you kind of experienced that? Has that ever been a thing that you've ever really recognized? And I mean, how easy is it for you to kind of live that way? Because I'm certain you've been put in situations where you're like, I got to adapt quickly.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to living, like you, the last part of your question, like that's easy. It doesn't matter where I'm at. I can get comfortable and I can just go with the flow. But on the other hand, how did you ask me again? Did you say what you said what?
Have you become more accustomed to being comfortable, or like, you know how the saying goes, like being comfortable with.
Oh, being on, but yeah. That-
Oh,
It's something like you're just kind of situation you're in, and so it's definitely helped me in football translate. Like I always think, like I've been in worse situations, or I've been in like I've been if I get nervous or antsy, I'm like, yeah, this was way more nerve-wracking having to do this. Like just so it's kind of like a reminder of like, okay, I've already done some of these things. Like don't be overwhelmed. But at the end of the day, I tell myself like, there's a good chance you're not going to see this person again, even if I will. But it's like again, like there's a good chance you're going to be moving. Like, so just be yourself, relax, and then, everything else will handle itself.
right. No, that's a good point. So I kind of want to pivot towards the fact of going into high school and going into Kingfisher. We talked about this previously. You said you grew up watching, there was a town that you had mentioned. You grew up watching a lot of eight-man football growing up. Um, Basically talk about that and then talk about the transition into playing high school football, where you kind of found your first love for wanting to play football, and when did you decide that football was going to be the path for you?
So, started playing in fourth grade. Like I said, we were eight man. We just did the speed option. We dominated. It was a blast. But I lived in a small town called Medford, Oklahoma, and I know the population is less than 1,000. Like I said, kindergarten and the 12th and the senior class, it was all in one building. It was a K through 12. Um, yeah, like I said, it was super small town.
Basically when you were, because you had talked about, growing up watching eight-man football. Obviously you talked about playing, uh you started playing football in fourth grade. When did you decide that football was going to be the path for you, as a career? And what was kind of your first, eye-opening experience with the game? What kind of made you fall in love with football?
Man, so I've always been a football fan. Even as a younger, before I started playing, I was always watching College Game Day, college football. My dad always had it on. We'd go to my aunt's having cookouts. You know what I'm saying? Like it was always a reason to get together for football. Started playing in fourth grade. I was in a sc- I went out I was at a school called Medford, Oklahoma.
Okay.
Population was less than 1,000. It had to be, but it was eight-man football, and that's how I started. And so we had like two linemen or three linemen, a receiver, quarterback, running back, and like we just ran the speed option and went crazy. But like that's all. That's kind of like what I grew up. That was my first high school football games. Was watching eight man. Uh, and so I just kind of fell in love with. That's what it just made me want to play. I was like, oh yeah, I want to be a superstar during this time. Like this is what I want to do. And then as I got into high school, and I hit my little growth spurt and all that, and then like I really started putting things together. And like I said, I think it was at the end of my junior years when I started getting recognition like from colleges, and I was like, oh, okay, I might like be able to do this.
Mhm.
And so then senior year, it was like all camp. I was going to every camp you could go to. I was doing this, doing that, just anything to try to get my name out there.
Right.
And but yeah, so I mean, it was definitely like I said, I started in fourth grade, and then I'd say like sophomore years when I really started hitting stride, where I was like, okay, I think I could be good at this.
I'm curious to know, because I know it's pretty prevalent in Oklahoma and I think in Texas as well. I don't really know if they have it up my way. I'm sure they probably got a couple of leagues, but eight-man football, I feel like, has become more of a popular thing. I don't know if maybe it's because I haven't been around it as much, but I've heard it more and more. What's the difference? I mean, you said you've played it before. How different is it in translation to 11 man? And what's the acclimation process like? Is it kind of discomfort? Is there a sense of discomfort when you get into 11 man when you've been playing eight man? or is it a pretty easy transition?
Mm, I'm probably not the best to answer that considering I played it when I was in fourth grade.
Okay,
So
so
it's like, you know
force.
what I'm saying? So it's like, I didn't like the extras, like it's an extra DB, it's an extra skill and an extra lineman. So
Mhm.
it's like, I'm sure it's, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like people who can't, it's not like, oh, well, you only play eight man. Well, it's just an extra kid. It's not like things are gonna, like your position would change or anything. So, I mean, it's the end of the day, it's still football.
Right. Well, I guess with that, you pivot over to Kingfisher High School. You say in your junior year, you go on a 14-0 run, you win a state championship, and then your senior year, fast forward, you get to I mean, we're talking, as you alluded to, camps. Statistically, you're killing it on both sides of the football. You're a Swiss knife because you got to be. 34 receptions, 434 receiving yards, 31 yards per game, 7 touchdowns, 11 total. Defensively, 80 tackles, 20 sacks, 7 pass breakups, 1 forced fumble, 2 interceptions, 1 return to the crib on that one. And it's remarkable to me that you had that much of an impact as a two-way player. And it seems as though like you really weren't, and I'm just being honest here, you weren't really heavily recruited. I don't feel like that speaks volumes. And then also in the same breath, you said this off camera, like I don't think a lot of people took me serious because of where I played. So I don't know if you wanted to add perspective on that.
Yeah, you know, I just feel like that's one thing not just me, but like all kids who go to a smaller school face is coaches worry about the competition. Will it translate? And I mean, everybody thinks they know something. No one knows anything. No one knows how high school kids are going to develop. Like he could be the best kid ever at 18 years old, have his head on straight, doing everything right, playing against the best talent. Then he goes to freshman year, like he goes there, starts struggling, hits a mental wall, is the same player again. Like you never know how players are going to pan out or fan out. So it's like they were overthinking it with me. That's the best way I can describe it. They were overthinking it.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I'd like to consider myself a sports memorabilia connoisseur. I mean, if you watch the podcast on YouTube, you look behind me, you see I got all the Broncos memorabilia, the Baker Mayfield jersey. It's a little bit disorganized, but don't hold it against me. Nevertheless, I just have a deep appreciation for memorabilia because I feel that each piece tells a tremendous story and conveys a lot about a team's history. But when I arrived at the USFL last season, contributing as one of their on-site social media producers, I was quickly introduced firsthand to one of the leading clothing brands, not only within the USFL, but in leagues such as the Canadian Football League, the Arena Football League, Minor League Baseball, National Basketball Association, and those are just to name a few. This brand has propelled themselves and cemented themselves as the leaders in defunct team merchandise and memorabilia. Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to share that Strive Sports Podcast, Strive Sports Productions, has teamed up with the leader in USFL merchandise, Royal Retros. From hats and jerseys to t-shirts and replica football helmets, they've got everything. Royal Retros has become a pioneer in paying homage to classic sports teams. And whether you are a fan of basketball, baseball, football, or even hockey, Royal Retros has something for everyone. As a matter of fact, with the holiday season just right around the corner, get ahead on your shopping list right now and head on over to their website. As a matter of fact, get your phone out and you can scan the bottom left QR code located in the bottom left corner of the screen, and it'll prompt you and take you over to the Royal Retros website. Once there, feel free to peruse the site. They've got everything: basketball, baseball, hockey, football. Like I said, one of the best, if not the best, in defunct team merchandise and memorabilia. And once you're at checkout, go ahead and use promo code STRIVE. That's promo code STRIVE, STRIVE. Save yourself 10% on your next purchase with them. A great way to support the leaders in defunct team merchandise and memorabilia, and a great way to support the show. Big shout out to Royal Retros for partnering with us and allowing us to join them on this opportunity.
It's a mental wall. Is the same player again. Like you never know how players are going to pan out or fan out. So it's like they were overthinking it with me. That's the best way I can describe it. They were overthinking it.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Schools like New Mexico, Tulsa, South Dakota, Texas State, Kansas, obviously, all took interest in you your senior year, and I believe all of those aforementioned schools had offered, but four of the five schools, Kansas being the caveat, from what you've described, they they offered you defensively, and I think where your heart was is when they played you at tight end. I mean, you're like that's where your heart's at. Am I wrong saying that? Is that where you kind of is that the that where you
No, right? Yeah, Kansas was the one school who offered me on offense. Tulsa never offered me; they just showed interest though. But most schools, like I said, there was like you can either play offense or defense, and then but Kansas was just the biggest, and it was like they wanted me for offense, so it was a no brainer. Like I said, I just something about scoring points, and it's just it's just more my style.
fair enough, fair enough. I mean, not really much of a hitter, or did you enjoy the hitting? You enjoy
I
getting
mean 20 sacks is 20 sacks. So, I mean, I had to do some hitting.
all right, you win. I lose. My bad. That's on me. That was a stupid question. It was a stupid question. All right. So you get to Kansas your freshman year in 2015. Red shirt, you take a red shirt. By the way, surprise everybody. He ends up going to Kansas because they want to utilize him on the offensive side of the ball. So lo and behold, you take a red shirt, you're 2015. 2016 is when they start to utilize you. And shame on me for not really letting you kind of talk about arriving on campus and talking about what was kind of, at least in your sophomore year, how they wanted to utilize you. Was that ever presented? Did they ever say, hey, we want to use you in X capacity, especially going into your sophomore year, or even I guess in your freshman year? Were they ever really open? Was there a lot of transparency with the coaches, or what kind of what was the impression when you got there and being utilized?
I mean, it was never that. It was a new staff, so like I mean, obviously they said they were going to use me a lot. They're going to do this, do that, but they had so much stuff to worry about. It wasn't like they just had a whole game plan for me.
Yeah. I mean, 0-12, 2-10 over the stretch of those two seasons, it definitely wasn't, their time to shine on the football. So when you arrived in northeastern Oklahoma, what was the reception like and how significant was it to your football journey?
It was really it was really what I needed. I think it really kind of not saved my career, but it just gave me a whole different perspective because I try to be as humble as possible. People playing against me on the field might not think so because that's when I tend to kind of talk without a filter. But for the most part, I always try to respect everybody's journey and everybody's process. And I know that, if we all had it our own way, we would all play at the Alabamas and the Georgias, and it would all be easy. But uh, given that I was a former D1 player, in the JUCO world, they call that a bounce back. And some places bounce backs kind of have bad attitudes, or they think that they're entitled to everything, or I'm saying that they're privileged because they've already done what some of these guys are trying to get to. And with me, the unique rule with our conference in JUCO is that I'm pretty sure you can only have 15 out of state players. So for the most part, the team is all a bunch of Oklahoma guys. So the energy that I grew up around, just very blue collar, respectful, just good old Oklahoma boys. Like it was just a good atmosphere. And like I came on to an older team, so I came on with guys like Darwin Thompson, Cordell Grundy, who they've all were successful football players in high school. Like I said, if you're from Oklahoma, you know who those guys are. And we just had a really old team. All of our coaches were on the rise. They were all trying to get out of there, go, saying elevate. And so I came in and it was like, yeah. And at first, everybody kind of thought I was going to be that entitled kid or think I was owed something. But, they quickly realized I'm just for the squad and like whatever I can do to help us win, like that's what it's about to be. Because, I wasn't even starting when I got to Juco. I was third string,
Oh,
tight end, third string. OSU offered my backup. They didn't even offer me again coming out of college. So, but I wouldn't have went Big 12 because you have to sit out because of the transfer rule, whatever. They changed that now.
yeah.
But so like I said, it was just a breath of fresh air, man, just to be around a bunch of kids that I was familiar with. We all knew each other. Like we didn't know each other, but like I know what school you went to and you know what school I went to, and we all know we know one girl. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was easy to connect like that.
Right.
So no, JUCO was incredible. That was literally one of the funnest. That's what I compared to the USFL to. Not the level of play, like it was easy or something, but just the camaraderie and like we're all working towards the same goal. So like at the end of the day, we're competing against each other, but like we all want to see each other make it to that next level.
Side note, curious to know, Darwin Thompson was the running back that not too long ago he played at Kansas City. I think he was with Seattle. Um,
Yep, you got him a Super Bowl ring.
yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, he played at Jinx is where he
Yep,
played his high school.
Jinx.
Yeah, Jinx is a my God, you want to talk about a badass high school football program?
I mean, hey man, you got to be careful though. Bixby now they're the dominant powerhouse.
Bigsby and Jinx are one of the biggest rivalries in not just the state of Oklahoma, but ESPN actually did a
Uh,
doc on them not too long ago.
uh,
God, that's a
Bixby beat them boys.
I haven't seen it since the documentary. I'm gonna be honest with
Yeah, man. My teammate at KU, or not KU, in Kingfisher, one of my good buddies, his dad was my principal. His name's Caden Jackson. He played at Wyoming. Actually, fun fact, played with Josh Allen. He was his right guard or left guard center. He did one. You know, O linemen are interchangeable. Then you get injuries and somebody picks up another spot. Like he played O line for Wyoming, but he's the D line coach out there at Bixby right now, and man, they're crushing it. They're not being messed with.
That's absolutely insane, dude. Yeah, great football all across the state of Oklahoma. And I mean, dude, they're an underrated state in terms of sports, like everything of
Yeah,
basketball.
we are we are.
So after your time at NEO, in 2017, Jimbo Fisher had, I guess, been accruing interest from Texas A&M, and I'm sure probably another array of schools. I mean, he was a national champion. He had won 2 Orange Bowls in his time with Florida State. Obviously, Jameis Winston was there. He's a Heisman Trophy winner. You were the first recruit of the his new regime in Texas A&M in 2017, and it's really an intriguing story, Jace, because they talk about I guess Tex Ags or somebody had reposted. It was literally you were the first recruit. You had a huddle film that was posted or I guess reposted by one of their outlets, and all of a sudden you end up getting like 30, 40,000 views on your film. Talk about the process of, I guess, being, the process of being recruited from NEO, and then how Florida State turned Texas A&M came about, and how you ultimately became the first recruit at Texas A&M under Jimbo Fisher.
Yeah, so like I said, I was getting a little bit of interest from different schools in JUCO. I was like I said, I had the Boise State offer, really liked them, but then Coach Fisher came in, and it was just a no-brainer after visiting the campus and doing all of that. And the big thing was that at Florida State, they had hit me up like right after I got out of my Boise visit, and I thought it was like a fake page or something. I was like, why is the main page DMing me and not like one of the coaches DMing me? But they were just like, hey, are you interested in Florida State? I'm like, duh, like what the hell? And then they kind of told me the deal, this and that. And like I said, so obviously I ended up at A&M. But the meantime, I'll never forget, I was actually coincidentally going up to Kansas because I was at JUCO and I was going up to Kansas for like right before Christmas break or JUCO, we had just won our conference. And so I had like a free week, whatever, like where I didn't have no practice, so I could do whatever. So Kansas was only like 4 hours away, so I just drove up there. I was gonna have a couple of days with the boys, you know what I'm saying? Like just go kick it. Oh, baby boy with his hair. Uh, so in the meantime, I just had dinner with Boise State. They don't know I'm about to go to A&M for a visit. So I just had dinner with Boise State, drive to Kansas, hang out with my friends, and on the way there that some dude posted my huddle. Like I said, I was at like 2,000 views. Man, I got halfway to KU. Next thing I know, it's at like 12K. That later that night, it's at like 20K. And it just kept going up and up. And I was just like, man, this is like everything I wanted as a kid was to be one of those recruits that like got offered by a big time school where like fan bases, everything. Like it was just like I was so excited. I kept refreshing my Twitter, just seeing everybody like watching like finally I felt like I was finally getting the recognition I deserved.
When you talk about your first conversations with Jimbo, because I mean, obviously their social media platform when he was still at Florida State, obviously you alluded to they were the ones that were doing the DMing. But what was the face-to-face interaction like with Coach Jimbo Fisher? And truthfully, I want to know the truth. I mean, I guess you really can't speak for Jimbo and the recruiting process, but would you say that you were like one of the first ones that was reached out to for that recruiting class in 2017, if not the first? I don't know if you can shed some light on that.
Miles absolutely the first. Like I was JUCO signing day, and this was before they had the early signing day for high school.
Right. Okay.
So JUCO was the only kid signing in December.
Okay.
We had a couple of JUCO kids on the visit too, but I was the only JUCO. I'm pretty sure I was the only JUCO kid we signed in that class. Oh,
Wow.
that's a lie. High schoolers could do early signing period then too. I'm sorry. They could. That's a lie. They could because I remember I signed with them, but that's what it was. There was already guys who were committed from someone's class who carried over. But no, yeah, I was Jimbo's first guy. Like I take pride in that. That's like my thing. Uh, but it was just just like when he met, he introduced himself. I introduced myself. We were out on an official visit, so obviously he's talking to my parents, just getting to know each other, telling me all the things I want, telling me how good I am and stuff, and how I would have a blast there, and how he'd use me. It was literally like I damn near blacked out. Like it was literally everything I've ever wanted. Just a famous coach talking football, like what I'm saying. We're out on an official visit. We're all dressed up for dinner, eating like good food. Like it was just the whole experience was unreal.
Well, they brought him in December of 2017, and hopefully he picked up the tab or somebody on his end did because he signed a 10-year, 70 some odd $1 million deal to take up that coaching role after someone's departure from Texas A&M. And I don't even think it was a departure. I'm pretty sure he was fired, but we'll call it departure. Um, and so, you know, after that, one of the key things that I found intriguing was there was a story that was done on you. Another thing we've talked about off camera, there was a story that was done. Basically, you had talked about how you kind of developed this bond where he had talked about his son Ethan, who had been dealing with, I want to say it was Franconi. I want to get the name right of the disease that his
No, it's hard to pronounce.
um yeah, I had it in my notes and I just cannot, I'm blanking for the life of me. But nevertheless, um, you kind of had this mutual bond in the sense that you had lost a friend to a terminal disease, and you actually have a tattoo on your left arm to commemorate your friend. And you said that that kind of really resonated with you. So just briefly touch on that and yeah, how that kind of established the bond and the perspective on Jimbo.
Uh, Part of it's my fault because, you see these guys on TV and how much money they're worth and all the cool things they're doing, and you kind of forget that they're human. So you create this false, assumption about somebody that they don't like human things. They don't go through things that like normal people go through. And so I think all of it, I think a little bit of it that plays a factor into this. But I'd met him for this whole summer. I did all spring ball with him, all summer workouts. Like I knew he had kids and like they were around, but he just was and like Jimbo's cool. Like I talked to him every day, and it was just he just wasn't very. He just never brought it up, and like it was just so when I found out that his son had this rare bone disease, and that he started a foundation for it, and the cure he invested his own money into it for years. Like he told the story at this banquet that he had at his house, or it was like a fundraiser or something that the doctor when he told the doctor what he wanted to do, like, hey, I want to fund this and that, she kind of looked at him crazy, like, do you know how much this would be, like what all it takes and everything. And like this is when he was coaching at LSU, I think. So it was just funny because like she didn't even know who he was. And so he like poured his own money into this, and like the cure rate is from 5% to last I heard, and like I said, it could have gone up. It was like at like 95, 96%. And like I said, he didn't force it up on us as a team, but he did say, "Hey, like I'm gonna have people come in. They're gonna draw your blood to see if you're a match, for a blood marrow,
Mhm.
if that's how you pronounce or bone marrow. It's not blood marrow, bone marrow. if you're a match. And it's like, if you want to do it, you can. If not, don't worry about it. But so obviously, once I heard that, I was really intrigued. I was just like, I had no idea. Like, a lot of people tell these things because they want, especially head coaches, that whenever there's money involved, they want people to know the good things they're doing so they can get rewarded for it for what they do behind closed doors. You know what I'm saying? Like, they need that validation. And like the fact he just went about his business and just was doing, but he's just doing what any dad wishes they could do, is always take care of their kid. It just really, spoke a lot to me, especially just, like I said, you did say I did lose my best friend to a brain tumor when I was 13 or 14 years old. And so it was just, and Ethan being at that age at the time when I met him, it was just kind of like,
Mm.
I was just like, what I'm saying, it just kind of, not comparing them, but because like obviously it's two different situations, but it really just made me feel like he was human and that he has a heart, and like he does care about things besides football.
It was Fanconi and Fanconi anemia, which is a rare blood disorder. It's terminal, which means there is no cure right now. But I did believe that I read that they were going to be doing some sort of, I don't know, it was some sort of testing that I think that they were wanting to do this past summer with Ethan, and trying to find a way to undergo a treatment to kind of help expedite, maybe even cure, rehabilitate what's going on. But nevertheless, just a sad circumstance. And you never want to see that as someone, a little kid for that matter. It sucks, but I mean, I would understand how that kind of speaks volumes in the same sense, because that age, 13, 14, that resonates with you because that's an age that, you lost your best.
Right.
So, but no, yeah. Um, anyway, so you get to Texas A&M, first recruit there. Talk about going into that tight end room, just to kind of jog your memory. I don't know if I'm correct on all these names, but some of the names that you had there, two of them were freshmen. One of them was a grad student. Trevor Wood, Tyler Scoggin, and Glenn Beal, I believe, were all the names, along with yourself. There was four tight ends in that tight end room when you got there your junior year. Talk about the dynamic there, and then talk about, if there was any dynamic cultivated off the riff, and then talk about your relationship with Kellen Mond. I know that you had said that you were roommates with him at Texas A&M, and how you guys kind of hit it off. I guess you could start with that.
Yeah, so me and Kellen were roommates at first. I had like the rule is first 6 months on campus as a newcomer, freshman, you had to stay in these place called Callaway Villas, which are really nice, like little townhome slash apartments, whatever you want to call them.
Mhm.
So like I said, I was living good. It was no big deal. But then after that first semester, after that spring semester, before fall or the summer, I moved in with Kellen and then our receiver named Jamon. We all had a house together, and yeah, just like I said, just developed a great relationship. That was my quarterback, obviously, so we could talk more about the game. We just had a better trust for each other. It really just I feel that's why we had such a strong dynamic in the games. To be honest with you,
Mhm.
um, yeah. So like I said, living with Kellen was great, and that was an overall good experience. Um, Ty, what did you ask before that about A&M?
I was going to say, you had a tight end room there with, three other guys you were
My
competing.
my dog my dog Trevor Wood. That's my guy, man. We hit it off from day one. He's super funny, like in a different funnier than me. Like he's really funny, and so we hit it off, and we could feed off each other, and we could rattle off things for days. And he was older too, so like we kind of felt like the dads of the group at times. And so like I had a great time with him. Yeah, like I said, Glenn Beal was a freshman, and then the other kid, God, I'm gonna ask because I don't remember who that is. Maybe if I saw his face, but we had this guy named Ryan Rennick, my dog from KU, who transferred in. Crazy story. Walk on at Kansas, ended up playing there, then transferred out. Walked on at Texas A&M, ended up getting a scholarship. Like that's my dog. Shout out Rennick, man.
Um, when you talk about the dynamic with Kellen, was it kind of like right off? I mean, I guess you had already said it, but on the field, I don't know what, like right off the riff for you, establishing that dynamic and that chemistry, because I guess clearly you what, 10 touchdowns in your junior season, um, a crap ton of receptions and yards. We'll get into that in a second, but yeah, how much did that dynamic play into the benefits, the fruits that you saw on the field?
Well, like I said, I mean, I feel like it played a big role. Like I said, we had a trust. We were with each other every day. We know we spoke the same language. Um, like I said, the camaraderie, the chemistry was great. Not just with me and him, but with the whole team. That's why I think we were successful in a lot of the games, and the games we lost, we could have easily won. And in the game, like I said, it was we never got blown out, and it was a reason behind that. Like I said, we all had good chemistry.
Mhm. And you talk about Jimbo. He spoke highly of you, dude. I read an article earlier today. He basically said, this is back in 2018, I want to say. The title of the article is called "With Jace Sternberger, Tight End is Back at Texas A&M." Your former head coach Jimbo had said, basically, you're very fun to watch at practice. He went on to say, Jace should have played back in 1955. I joke about that. These are his words, not mine. I joke about that, but the way he's like, and pause out of context here, pause, get on me. I like, I don't even want to say it. I like you getting on to me. I don't know the more you get onto Jace, the harder he plays, is essentially how that quote went.
Yeah,
That was awkward, but care to elaborate on that and what the practices?
yeah. He's saying like get on me, like
I
like I
got
do better. I do better when I'm getting my ass chewed.
you. Pause, but I get it. No, I'm sorry. Talk about the talk about his leadership and how it molded you into being the player that you are and the person that you are.
Mm, just because with me, he was super upfront. The day one team meeting, he said he's gonna love us like his own off the field, but once we cross the white lines, that he's won a national championship before and he knows how to do it. And so you can either follow, what I'm saying? It is what it is, but there's no relationship on the practice field. Like we're there to get better. And
Mhm.
so it was like, shit, we know what we're getting. So out there on the field, it was tough love. It was tough. There were some extremely days where his words were very powerful, and my position coach he's very intense too. Anybody who knows Coach Brewster knows that. And yeah, like I said, those were some of the toughest days, but they were also those are the same guys who were the first to after as soon as the whistle play was over and practice was over, they were, what I'm saying, they were your biggest fan and everything. So it definitely helped me get some mental toughness.
Look, man, I'm gonna glide right through the rest of this season, and then we'll get into the back stretch of this. I'm gonna make this super quick as possible because we are eclipsing on 11:30, so I want to get us off here as quick as.
Yeah.
So in the first game with the Aggies, you had accounted for 5 catches, 56 yards, 2 touchdowns against Northwestern State. You were named the John Mackey tight end of the week that week. You go on to finish your career at Texas A&M. Mind you, it was only one season your junior year. All SEC first teamer in 2018. You finished your junior year, your only year there, with 47 passes, 804 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Ultimately, in 2019, you would forego your senior season with the A&M Aggies and declare for the 2019 draft. Going into that, just real quickly, talk about the process of preparing for the combine and how hard that decision was to forego and decide to go to the NFL rather than stick around with A&M.
Definitely super tough. Like I said, and Jimbo gave me the full court press too. Like we just built a great relationship and I got out of there, but man, the iron was hot. I just put up some stupid numbers coming from JUCO, especially doing in the SEC. When you look at the SEC defenses I played too, I was like, damn, this is all the validation I need. I mean, it was Josh Allen for top 5 pick in Jack or top 10 pick in Jacksonville, Devin White, Jonathan Abrams, Montez Sweat, Jeffrey Simmons, Lonnie Johnson, the Clemson defense, the Martavis Bryant, not Martavis Bryant, Austin Williams, Klein Farrell, Dexter Lawrence. Like, dude, I played some dogs.
Damn.
Like, I played some dogs. I didn't even get to Grant Delpit, Greedy Williams.
Mm.
Uh, Ole Miss, we were playing. I mean, they were offense, but DK, AJ Brown,
Wow.
DeMarcus, like, bro, we were just playing some dog. No, I haven't even named any Alabama players yet. Just think about that. Like, I haven't named the Alabama players, so it was like, man, I'm putting up numbers against these guys. Like, I can't risk getting hurt. And, shout out our USFL guy, Jake Butt. But I was like, I can't risk an injury. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't do it. And I think I can get drafted pretty high, which, third round, that's not the highest, but it's not the lowest either. So I was like, it's pretty high up there, top 75. And, like, so it was very tough. Like, I loved A&M, loved Jimbo. And, I mean, I wanted to leave. I didn't, it's not like I was forced to by any means, but I definitely thought about staying plenty of times. And it was just a business decision.
Right. No, I get it. 75th overall draft pick in 2019, taken third in the third round by the Green Bay Packers. You get there. Obviously, upon arrival, you're coming into a room with Mercedes Lewis and Jimmy Graham at the time. And to top it off, you've got guys like Devontae Adams and I believe Aaron Jones and obviously Aaron Rodgers. That is a very intimidating thing if you're a rookie, at least in my opinion. That's got to be very difficult to kind of develop a mindset of, I got to come in here and you just got to, you're held to a higher standard. I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong.
Most definitely held the higher standard, especially like coming in as a rookie. Like, that was a team, like, they didn't need me. They already had, what I'm saying, they had their pieces. They just took me because they thought I was the best prospect on the board. It was like we need a tight end. So, yeah, it was very nerve-wracking my rookie year, especially playing with Aaron. But like I said, I learned a lot too, so it was great.
That tight end room, you talk about Mercedes and Jimmy Graham. What was some of the stuff that you learned from them that have kind of helped you in your career now, even now, I guess?
Mercedes, I learned a lot from him. Just about being calm, cool, collected, and really breathing when I'm playing and not rushing myself and just, you got to be able to stay calm, especially he's a big into MMA. He put me on UFC, and so it's like, when you're in the in the octagon, like everything is hectic and aggressive. It's like who can stay the calmest in the most intense situations. So that's why you notice me, like I try to be pretty laid back and nonchalant about a lot of things because it's like I want to be calm in the moment, and that's why it's like when I'm playing, like, after the play's over, I'm super excited, but during the play, I'm always, I'm making the same facial expressions. I'm doing the same thing. It's like I just want to act like I've been here before, and like I don't get too riled up during a big moment. So that's why I learned the most from Mercedes. Jimmy was more just like a breath of fresh air. Like I just learned, like, he's the most interesting man on the planet. Like he's Jimmy.
Dude, flying planes, got a yacht, dude, or not a yacht, but I mean, he's, living on a boat. He's done. Yeah, dude. Uh, give the Dos Equis guy a run for his money. Real quick, like,
Exactly.
you talk about playing with a guy like Aaron Rodgers, man. What is it like playing with a veteran QB that has been decorated like Aaron Rodgers? Obviously, um, I'm one of the best in the league. When healthy. What was it like playing with him on the field and learning from
It was a learning experience. Like I said, it was growing pains. I had to grow up fast. I had to learn his offense, his signals from when he could do them from years ago to, what I'm saying? It was just learning a whole new language, and it was every day was exciting. I think Aaron's one of the coolest dudes out, regardless what people say about him in the media or the picture they portray.
him?
Um, I'm forever grateful for getting to play with Aaron. Like that was one of the coolest experiences of my life, and like I said, wish him nothing but the best. But yeah, no, like I said, I learned a lot in those 2 years of getting 2.5 years of getting to learn from him and watch him, and actually, I got to be a part of one of the MVP years, and it was magical.
Mhm. Well, I won't keep you for too much longer, my friend. Obviously, yeah, I'll ask you one last question. Obviously, you've been playing with the Stallions. You just come off of championship in the 2023 season. Really just talk about that team as a whole. It basically summarized that season with the Stallions and winning that championship and what that kind of meant for you and your career.
Man, I said I kind of compare it to the JUCOs, back to the basics. I gotta be around a group, not just a group, but really the whole league. everybody's chasing that next level, and it was just fun to be around a bunch of guys who all wanted the same thing. You know, obviously we wanted to win and do certain things, and he's trying to tell me to be quiet. Uh, but the Birmingham, man, that was a special group. It was from the O line to the coaches to Magoo, just like the camaraderie. I mean, you saw it. The camaraderie on our team was it was very good energy, very sarcastic, very funny. Like I genuinely feel like everybody enjoyed going to work every day, and it was like I said, it was just a fun time. I had some really good teammates. Shout out Thad Moss, man, Dion Kane, all my guys, and the competition made it fun too. Like I said, playing other teams and hearing them get excited every week about how they were going to beat us and do all these crazy things, and it was just it made things fun. You know what I'm saying? It was good to be competitive. Like I said, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how anything was going to be from the competition level or like how serious players took it. Like, you know, it was overall a great experience, and definitely something I'd be interested in doing again.
You love to hear it, man. Hopefully, there may be a chance and an opportunity in the near future for you to return, especially with the merger happening, or at least we hope. But I
Right.
thank you enough for your time, man. Sorry to hold you for so long, but I am appreciative. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to episode 10 of the Strive Sports Podcast. Thank you so much, Jace. I appreciate it.
No problem, bro. Appreciate you.